Okay, so let's graph this. First thing, we know cosine starts at the max, right? So it's still going to start at 3. So there's my first point. Now it's going to hit the midline at that first tick mark that you made, that first hash mark you made there. At pi over 2, it's going to reach its minimum, -3. Then it's going to go back to the midline at the next tick mark. And at pi, it's going to finish at the max like it usually does. So right off the bat, did you guys see how quickly we just made one of those? It just took us pi that time, not 2 pi. It only took us to pi to make one. All right, and then we're going to do it one more time to get to 2 pi. So next tick mark, we're back at the midline. It's just going to keep repeating itself. 3 pi over 2, minimum. Next tick mark, midline. And then finally, 2 pi, we're back at the max. So this is what this equation looks like from 0 to 2 pi. Woo, huh? Make sure we label it so we know which one it is. Y equals 3 cosine 2x. All right, how about that curve, guys? Huh? We see a little extra than usual. All right, I'm going to ask somebody right now. Be ready. How many full cycles of the cosine curve do we see right now? You guys remember cosine curve looks like this, right? How many full cosine curves do I see right now from 0 to 2 pi? I'm going to go back here. So how many cycles of cosine do I see right now on my graph? Let's start it off. Kian, how many cycles do I see?
2.
2, yeah, good job. 2 cycles. From 0 to 2 pi. 2 cycles. All right, let's do one more graph now. Part C says now we're going to do 3 cosine. Now I'm going to put a 1/2 in there now. A 1/2. So everyone ready? First point is still at your max. Whoop. First point is still at your max. At pi, it goes to the midline. At pi, guys, at pi, it's going to hit the midline. And at 2 pi, it's going to hit its minimum. That's it. That's what happens when I put the 1/2 in front now. And then you guys can go ahead and graph it in. I'll do that in gray. That's it. That's the only part of the cosine curve we're seeing here. That's y equals 3 cosine 1/2 x. Not that much, right? By putting the 1/2 in there. All right. How much of the cosine curve do I see now? From 0 to 2 pi. How much of the cosine curve did we just graph in? You got it. You can do it. You got it. No idea. Colin, any ideas? Not on.
What was the question again?
Yep. How much? I just graphed this cosine. 3 cosine 1/2 x in.
Yeah.
How much of the cosine curve did I just graph in?
A half.
Yeah, you're right. Be confident. We just did a half cycle. Half cycle. Okay, half cycle. Now, is anybody seeing any coincidence between how much we saw and the number inside now? You guys see that? That's not a coincidence. That's a fact. Whatever number's in there, that's how many curves you're going to see. So if I put a 4 in there, you're going to see 4 cosine curves. All right, that's not a coincidence. That is fact. All right? All right. I'm going to introduce a new letter now in the equation. A new letter. We already know what A represents. Or do we? What's the A value? Not the equation, but what do we call the A value? It's the what of the curve. That number out in front, we call the what of the curve. Look back if you need to. Here we go. Liz, do you remember what we called the A value? It started with A.
I don't don't remember.
Okay, amplitude. That was the amplitude, that number out in front, everyone. Amplitude. I also gave you guys a C value, which is at the end. +5, -6, -2. What's the C value do for us? Here we go, Sophia. What's the C value out in front or at the end do? When I have +6 or -2?
The vertical shift.
Great job. That's the vertical shift. And we sometimes called it the midline. All right, the midline. Now I'm going to introduce a new letter, B. All right, everyone see where it's located. It's that number in front of the X, B. That's going to be referred to as our frequency. Frequency, everyone, frequency. How many curves we're going to see if we graph to 2 pi. If we're going to graph to 2 pi, the frequency, that number tells me how many curves we're going to see. All right, so amplitude for A, vertical shift for C, frequency for B. Questions? Everyone's good? Okay. So that's exactly what we just talked about here. B is going to be the frequency now. All right, let's look at each of these curves we just graphed and see if we can find a little relationship now. I'll do the first one with you, or for you. In part A, notice that there is no number in front of the X, but we know there's a 1 there. All right, so we can say the frequency is 1. And that curve that was originally on your graph before we started, that black one there that was on there, how long did it take to make that curve? All the way to 2 pi. So that's what the period is. How long did it take to make your curve? 2 pi. That will not be the case for the next couple. All right. All right, here we go. I'm going to slow it down just a bit now. Here we go. Kian, back to you. The second curve we graphed, 3 cosine 2x. What's our frequency? What's in place of the B value now?
2.
2. And now go back to that curve, Kian. How long did it take to make one of those cosine curves? So from the start to the finish of one cosine curve, how long on the x-axis till what?
2 pi.
Well, we went all the way to 2 pi, but how long did it take just to make one of them? One of them ended where on the x-axis?
Wait, what do you mean ended like where? I don't know.
Okay, so I started at 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
I graphed a couple points, and then I finished right here. Here's one cosine curve right here in purple that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cosine curve. Where on the x-axis did we end that one?
Pi.
Pi, right? And then it took us another pi to do the second one. All right, so it took us a distance of pi, period, pi there. That's how long it took to make one curve, everyone, which is the period, pi. We're good there? Ken, you're good. I'm going to come back to you, though, probably. Okay, Hunter, here we go. You got the last one. The 3 cosine 1/2 x. Here you go, Hunter. What's in place of the B value, my frequency?
1/2.
Okay, 1/2. All right, this is going to be a tricky one, Hunter, but I think you got it. Now, we saw half the curve ended at 2 pi, Hunter. If I kept going on the x-axis, where do you think I would end this curve by seeing the full thing? If I saw half of it at 2 pi, where would I see the rest of it? At where?
If you saw half at 2 pi?
I saw half of it at 2 pi, but I want to know when I would see the full thing. So if I kept on graphing here, guesses on where I would see the whole thing if half of it's at 2 pi.
4 pi.
You got it, 4 pi. So I would see the whole thing, the period here would be 4 pi. Now that's tough on a graph. I get it. That's tough. All right, that's tough to see. When it would be 2 pi versus 4 pi. All right, so I have a formula for you instead. how to find that period. There's a formula I'm going to give you instead. Because I get it. It's tough looking at a graph and figuring out when you're going to see the full curve. So here's the period formula. Every time we're going to use it. 2 pi divided by whatever your b value is. All right? 2 pi divided by whatever your b value is. That's how we're going to find how long it takes to make all these curves. 2 pi divided by whatever the b value is. Are you guys okay finding the b value in an equation? Because I'm going to throw lots of numbers in an equation now and making sure you guys are able to identify where the b is. We good? All right, let's do this. Let's practice this a little bit. Going to need 3 studs coming up here to find the period. And again, Donovan, I treat everyone the same in this class. You want to be part of this class, get your darn camera on. Okay? No, there's no exceptions here. I told you the other day, leave if you don't want it on. Here we go. Exercise 4, part A. Find the period. Find the period now. Now, I don't want to know the amplitude, shifts, nothing. Find the period. Here we go. Let's start us off. Caroline, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good morning. Hold on. First thing, formula.
Okay.
Formula for period.
2 pi divided by b.
Okay, here we go. So it's going to be 2 pi divided by what number now is in place of b? Because I got 2 up there. I got the 6 and the 4. Which one's your b value?
It's the 4.
Yes, the 6 is the a, the amplitude. 4 is my b value. Good job, Caroline. And because you guys are seniors and juniors, yes, I would expect you guys to reduce that a little bit. So Caroline, 2 over 4?
Pi over 2.
There you go. Pi over 2 would be the period here.
Stud.
All right, enough.
But I'm good.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay, I'm glad Caroline could find it. I'm glad she could find it. I want you to know what this pi over 2 means, though. If I were to have you guys graph this, you would see this full curve from 0 to pi over 2. That's pretty darn quick. So you don't have to do this, but boom, from here to here, you would see that full curve right now. 6 sine 4x. You'd see the full thing at 2 pi, pi over 2. All right, nice job, Caroline. All right, here we go. Next up. Must be really listening, huh? Bassett, you ready, boss? You got it. I don't. Easy. Just give me the period formula first.
2 pi divided by b.
Yep. All right, here we go. What? Now I got a lot going on here. What's the frequency? What's your b value here?
Pi over 3.
Okay. Stay with me now. Everyone else, though, you know I'm not letting you leave it like that. Fraction divided by a fraction. We've dealt with those all year long. We have dealt with these all year long. All right, Bassett, I know you know how to deal with it. 2 pi stays. What's the division turn into?
Keep change flips.
Yep.
2 pi over 1 multiplied by 3 over pi.
Great job. I don't even have to teach anything. Good. Everyone, yes? Keep, change the division to multiplication, flip the bottom. Bassett, what's canceling out?
The pi's.
Pi's, yep. So they're gone. And what's my period here?
6.
6, 2 times 3. So the period there is 6. And 6 radians now. 6 radians. Okay, so it would take me 6 radians to graph this curve. You guys doing all right? Any issues yet? Finding the period. I just want you to find it. We're going to use it to graph here in a minute, but I just want you to be able to find it. All right, next up. Guys are doing a great job. Here we go, Mason. Period formula.
So it would
would be 2 pi divided by 2 over 3.
Well, hold on. I just want 2 pi over b here. I want to start right from scratch with all these because we're brand new at this. But you are correct. The b value is 2/3. So it'd be 2 pi divided by 2/3. We're not going to leave it like that. 2 pi. Go ahead. Talk to me. I'm not even going to say anything. I don't want to talk.
Flip it, so multiply by 3 over 2.
Yep.
And then we have 6 pi over 2.
Okay. So the 2's cancel, though, right? And even if you did 6 pi over 2, you could just still do 6 over 2, right? To get what?
Yeah, 3 pi.
There you go. So if you guys wanted to see this full curve, you have to go all the way out to 3 pi now, past 2 pi. Got to go all the way out to 3 pi. Guys, can I answer any questions on finding the period? Because we're going to use it to graph now. Any questions I can answer on finding the frequency, the b value, or the period? Anything before we move on? Okay, then. You guys got it. Let's graph now. Okay, let's graph. Okay, before we graph, find the frequency and the period for me. All right, before we start graphing, find the frequency and the period. All right, let's do it. So cosine 1/2 x. Cosine 1/2 x. Here we go, Sophia. What's my frequency for that? My b value.
1/2.
Good job. Here we go. Remind everyone one more time, Sophia, what's the period formula?
2 pi over b.
2 pi over b. So we're going to do 2 pi over 1/2. All right, talk to me here, Sophia. Keep the 2 pi and do what?
Multiply by 2 over 1.
Yep, 2 over 1. And that would be a period of what, Sophia? Finish this strong.
4 pi.
4 pi, yeah, 4 pi. Everybody good? All right, now here comes the change. Here comes the change, everyone. When I have a frequency, a b value of something other than 1, my x-axis is going to change now. You will no longer have pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. That is only when the frequency is 1. When it's something other than 1, I need to find a new x-axis to graph on. And I should have, this is my fault, totally 100% my fault. I should have eliminated these. So if you guys can just cross them out real quick for me, blacken them in there, because we're not going to use those values. We can't. All right, we got a different frequency. So how do you find your new x values now? How do I find my new x values to put on there? Here it is. And you guys have seen this term before. Now we're going to use it. We're going to find where the key values should be. Where should your key values be? And every single time we've done a graph, you guys just put in pi over 2, right? That's it, because I told you to. Because every pi over 2, you were putting a max, a min, or a midline. Not anymore, though. Not anymore. Here's how you find what your key values will be. You take the period. So in this problem, 4 pi. You take whatever you found for the period and divide it by 4. Why divide it by 4? Hey, how many values did we always have on the x-axis? 4. All right, it's always divided by 4. All right, so to find what your key values are going to be, you're going to take the period divided by 4. All right, for us, it'll be, you're going to have a key value every pi. Every pi, you're going to have a key value. All right, so how do I use it? Everyone ready? We're going to label our x-axis now with our key values. You got 0, that stays 0. The first key value is going to be pi. And you're going to keep going by pi. You're going to keep adding pi now. So the first one was pi. Add pi again. You get 2 pi. Add pi again. You get 3 pi. And then look at this magic. Where do I end up at? Add another pi. You end up at 4 pi, which is your period. That always happens. Your last value on the x-axis should be whatever your period is, because that's how long it's going to take to make this curve. Everybody, I know we're going to do one more. We got more practice at it, but we okay. How to label our x-axis. You take your period, always divide by 4. And that's what I go by. All right. I need somebody here. There we go. Nick, you ready?
Yep.
How are you? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I love this stuff. All right, Nick, we're about to graph cosine. Do not forget what you learned, Nick. All right, where cosine starts, where it goes, where it ends. Don't forget about that. Where does the cosine curve always start, Nick?
The maximum.
Okay, and what's the max? And there's no number out in front, so where are we going to start it?
Just 1.
Just 1, yeah. Then where's it go to, Nick?
The midline.
Is there any shift here?
No.
No, so we're going to stick it right at 0 like the old days. Then where's it go, Nick?
Minimum.
Yep, which in this case, there is no number out in front, so we're going to stick to our good old -1. Minimum back to where?
Midline.
Okay. And then where's the cosine curve end?
Maximum.
Guys, the 1/2 is just for your x-axis. That's it. Everything else stays the same. Everything. Don't get freaked out by the 1/2. The 1/2 just says, hey, you're going to need a different x-axis than usual. Everyone see what Nick just did? Maximum, midline, minimum, midline, max. Just like we've been doing for the last week. The last week. Good job, Nick. The B value does not affect your max, min, and midline at all. The B value affects the x-axis. Last one. Let's go. Last one. B value first. What's the B value up here? Who's got this now? Feel like we're in a good spot right now. All right, Liz, here we go. A little redemption. What's my B value?
Pi over 4.
Good job. Remind me one last time today. What's the period formula?
2 pi over b.
Yep. All right, here we go, Liz. So it's going to be 2 pi divided by pi over 4. I got that. So 2 pi, and then you take it there from here, Liz. What do I do next? 2 pi.
Multiplied by 4 over pi.
Good job. What's going to cancel?
Pi's.
Yep. So what's the period for this curve?
8.
Just 8. Yep. Just 8. Let's find the key values next. Everybody. And then we'll actually put everything on the graph here. All right, last time we went by pi. Now what are we going to go by on the x-axis? Well, take the period, cut it up into equal parts of 4. Always 4, because remember, you're putting 4 values on there. Cut it up into 4. So we're going to go every 2 now. Every 2. Get used to this, guys. I know you guys have been, I've been helping you guys big time as far as giving you the graph all labeled, but now you're probably going to have to label your own graph now. All right, so start with your line here, because we're only going to do the positive side. We'll very, very rarely go in the negative side. And then you got your x-axis drawn in. All right, you're going by 2s. Now, hey, when I say go by 2s, that means your markings have to go by 2s. That doesn't mean, hey, take a look, everyone. That doesn't mean every 2 on here you have to mark. All right, it just means when you label them, they got to go by 2s. I like spreading my graph out. That's just how I roll. I don't like it all scrunched in. 1, 2, 3. I go every 4 a mark. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. It's up to you. Just make them the same all along. Okay? Your labels have to go by 2s, but the actual markings don't. All right? So if you want to go by 3s, if you want to go by 1s, whatever floats your boat. All right? But again, my first key value is going to be 2. And then what about the rest of them now? If I'm going by 2s now, what about the rest of them? Let's go. Will, let's go. If I start with 2, what's the next one?
4,
4. Next.
6,
6 and
8.
guys, again, you end at the period every time. You end at the period every single time. Good job, Will. All right, one last person to graph it now with me. Liz, here we go. Back to you, Liz. It's a sine curve, Liz. Tell me what you know about the sine curve. Where does the sine curve usually start?
Midline.
Midline. And guys, I'm not even going to ask Liz as we go along. There's no shift, and there's no A value in front. So it's going to be 0s, 1s, and -1s. So the midline is 0. Good job, Liz. Let me get that down here. Midline then to where, Liz?
Maximum.
Maximum. And again, guys, same thing. If you want 1 and -1 to be here and here, that's your call. I don't care, but I like to space mine out a little bit. Make it look nice and neat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll make 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, -1 here. It's your call. That is totally your call. How far you space it out is your call. All right, sorry, Liz. So I'm going back up to the max. You got it. And then it goes where?
Back to the midline.
Yep. Keep talking here. Next.
Minimum.
Minimum, and then finishes where?
Midline.
Got it. Guys, this is our sine curve, right? How many times have we done sine before? It's just new numbers on the x-axis. New numbers on the x. And that's it. Okay, that's it. That new b value here will only affect your x-axis. That's it. It's not going to affect your minimums, maximums, midlines, nothing. That's your a and your c value. Do that. The b value affects how your x-axis will look. Any questions here, guys? Doesn't seem that bad, right? Just got to keep everything straight, what a, b, and c mean, and how to use them. All right. Tomorrow, please make sure you're on time tomorrow. I want to start on time so we can review the first half for the quiz, and the second half, you're going to practice this stuff right here we just did. All right. You guys haven't submitted anything on Google Classroom yet from yesterday's assignment. You got till 3. That's it. Got till 3 o'clock. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. That's all I got for you.